everybody. Welcome to Tammy Talks. So, I'm Tammy. Now, I know it's weird for me to come in towards the end of the season and start recapping Kanan, but I love the episode so much that I just wanted to talk about it. If that's cool with y'all. So, subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video, leave a comment below, all that good stuff. Let's get that out the way. Let's get into what y'all are here for. Let's talk about the episode, right? So, the show starts off with Jukebox and Kanan at Nicole's memorial service. Now, I was kind of shocked that she had the guts to go in because I thought with the way that Nicole's parents talked to Juke, when their parents found them kissing on the bed, I never thought that she would like actually go in. But her and Kanan go in, and Nicole's father, who is really always, I feel like has always been kind of Team Laverne, Team Juke anyways, was just kind of like, you can't be here. Whereas her mother was like, nope, absolutely, them two got to go, like, go on and get the hell on. Done. So we then see them walking out, and before they leave, Kanan tells her father, she really did love your daughter. And you can see that Nicole's father, like, I feel like he accepted it a lot sooner than like the mother who has not accepted it at all. But you can tell that Nicole's father was like kind of, wheels are turning. He's thinking she really did, ride for my daughter. So they're outside, and Kanan is like, all right, let's go do something now. Let me roll with you. Like, what do you want to do? Like, just take your mind off of it. And Juke tells him, I got to do this on my own. Like, I'm going dolo with this. So we then see her go to, she ends up going and kind of waiting outside of their house, Nicole's parents' house. And she's watching as people come in and out and, people from the church or whatever. And then we see her parents come out and she breaks into the house. Now, I'm already thinking like, one, they done already told you stay away from their daughter. So you going to break in their house? So I'm thinking maybe she just wants to get in there, maybe grab something of Nicole's to kind of keep as a keepsake, kind of keep something to remind herself, of her. So she goes in and she's like looking around her room, and it is just heartbreaking to watch how like torn up she is about this entire situation. So she's in there, she's looking all around the room, and she pulls out the tape that they made at the mall when they were singing. I'm thinking she's gonna take the tape, stuff it in her backpack, and then leave because that's all you need. No, she puts the tape in the VCR and starts watching it. And the whole time I am like nervous, like you need to get the hell out of these white people's house. Like you can't be in there right now. So she watches the tape and she's crying, and it's like you can tell that was her first true real love. Like she loved Nicole. So she's doing that. And then eventually we see her like typing on the typewriter, and then she's finally like getting herself together, I guess, to finally leave. And we see the father coming in, and he's like, we didn't know it was you. Kind of thinking, damn, we done called the police because there's a broken window downstairs. So we know somebody's in here. So then the mother comes in, and she is like ready to, put him up with Juke, and she's like reaching for her and screaming, it's your fault, you killed our daughter, you're a murderer. And then she tosses the blue cap at her and said, take this back to the ghetto, or you got this from the ghetto you're from. And in that moment, Jukebox is just kind of like, you can see her die a little bit inside, because it's like, even though she's not directly responsible for it, because Nicole had no business taking that shit out of her backpack, it's still like, I placed it within her reach. So she gets arrested because the police come in, 2 black cops come in, they arrest her, and she just immediately puts her hands up, and it's just kind of like, I did it. I'm gonna get what I get, because she is so just depleted. Like, you can tell that Juke is just dead inside. And to me, I feel like that is the moment that she turns into the Jukebox that we see in the original Power series, where she's a crooked cop. So she's arrested. The cops are driving her, I'm assuming, down to the precinct to get booked for breaking and entering. Hell, probably murder at the way the mama was screaming. But then as they're driving, they get a call from a detective who, Detective Howard, who was like, nope, let her go. So Jukebox gets let go, and she is like just in such a state of shock. So once she finally gets let go, we see her get out and she just eventually walks home, and we see her meet up with Kanan, and she holds up the blue cap and kind of shows Kanan, this is it. And she's like, I can't blame you, because he's like, I don't even know what to say. And I mean, I feel like it's Kanan's fault personally. On one hand, but on the other hand, I mean, Nicole had no business taking unmarked drugs out of somebody else's bag. So and that's when Juke is like, it's this city, I don't blame you, trash ass city. So I'm interested to see what's gonna happen with Jukebox next, or where she's gonna go from there with her. I still want to see what pushes her to become a cop. You know what I mean? What pushes her? What's that pivotal moment that pushes her to not only be a cop but to turn into a dirty cop, the dirty cop that we saw in Power. So as far as Rock, and so Rock is sitting down with Lulu and Marvin, and they're talking about these blue caps that are making their way through the streets that are killing people. Because you don't want it's let alone that you're selling drugs, but you don't want your drugs to be traced back to you as you putting out dirty product, and like, Detective Howard says, because they're stepping on it. So, and it's like, it's crazy how Rock really does find out everything. So the funniest part of the episode to me was when they're sitting at the table. Lou is clearly not paying attention to anything Rock is saying. He's looking more so at this like paper, this like manila folder in his hand, which we find out later that it's like a contract that he was going to go do with Crown. So funniest part was they're arguing at the table, and Lou tells Marvin, why don't you start wearing deodorant? And Marvin said, I have a natural musk about myself. And it is so funny because he was dead ass serious. Like, when he said that, he felt that and he meant that. And so they're going back and forth until Rock is kind of like, you can tell that her patience with Marvin is like here. So she's asking them, do y'all know anything about the blue caps? And Marvin immediately starts talking in a circle. Like, no, some other people that's doing it and blah, blah, blah. And I think in that moment, Rock kind of knew he had something to do with this shit. Because, like, she's so in tune with everything, and she knows that her brother is a fuck up. So she kind of presses Lou and is like, tell me what Nick said when he stepped to you. And Lou was like, I already told you. So Rock like takes the photo, like, let me get you to focus. Let's get you to concentrate on what I'm saying. Why did he even feel comfortable enough to come to you and think that you would flip? And she's like, dude, he knows something that I don't. And you can tell that Lou was like hurt. He is hurt because he was like, why would you even think that I would betray you? You're like, you know how real I am. You know where my flag fly. Like, I was like, damn, Rock. But I took that as just kind of her wanting to test his loyalty and to see, even though he's doing all this music stuff, are you still down? That's what I took it as. Like her being, like her wanting to make sure that Lou was still down 100% for the business, because I think Rock is trying to get out of the business because she wants to get Kanan more so away from it. So Rock is out driving, and Detective Howard pulls her over. And pulls her over because he was out in the hood with his partner earlier, and he was paying off this dope head for information about where the blue caps were coming from. So they go, and he tells them about some guy up in Brooklyn. They go find a guy in, looks like a strip club. Is it a strip club or a pool, like a pool hall? But they go find the guy, arrest him, and he snitches off rip. Kanan Stark did it. Kanan did that. So they go, and they want to go, the white partner wants to go and arrest Kanan, and Detective Howard is like, no, nah, he's 15. Let me find out some more about this. Let me find out like what's really going on. So he approaches Rock and tells her, we gonna talk or I'm about to arrest Kanan for 6 counts of murder and I have more than enough proof. So Rock is like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So they're talking and he tells her that someone has told him that Kanan is the one that was out here cooking this crack, this bad batch of crack that's been stepped on, that's killing people basically with one, one inhale. One drag is like taking people out. So then the conversation switches over to Detective Howard again being like, you need to tell Kanan he is my son. And Rock was like, I'm not going to do that. Stop asking me about it. So Detective, as we know, he wants to know, partly because he just didn't know. And I think another part is because he still needs, that, was it a kidney transplant? He still needs, that surgery. He needs somebody that's a match. So they're talking and Detective Howard was like, well, either you say something or I'ma tell the hood that, I'ma tell Kanan myself, and then the hood will know that you were messing with an undercover detect back in the day. And Rock is like, well, you was sleeping with an underage girl acting like you didn't see me walking with a fucking geometry book every day. And I'm like, wow, okay, so they about to like, y'all were really, it wasn't just a one-time thing. Y'all were really like kind of together. So Detective Howard was like, well, so was DEFCON. And she said, no, DEFCON was left-handed. And I looked at the screen, I was like, was left-handed a bad thing in the 90s? And then Detective Howard stopped and was like, what? And she was like, yeah, he played for the other team. I was his cover. I said, wow. And you got to remember, back in the 90s, it wasn't as acceptable, for men to be, especially like super hood guys like that, to be gay as it kind of is today. So Detective Howard was looking like, what the fuck? So Rock was like, that's why he was okay with me, getting pregnant, because it just made it look like it was his, without him having to actually, do the work to make the baby. So Detective Howard tells her, well, look, you got X amount of time to tell Kanan, or I'm going to tell him, and then the hood is going to be looking at you crazy. So the last thing I want to talk about this episode. So then Rock comes home and she is like yelling at Kanan because she's like, every time I try to tell you or try to put you in a little bit, you take it. I give you an inch, you take them out. You know what I mean? Like everything you do, you're fucking up. There are bodies dropping because of you. And Kanan is like, you made me this way, trying to get big with her. She slaps the taste out of his mouth. Like, he falls to the ground. And I was like, did she really slap you that hard? Or was that you just like letting her know, you the winner? So Rock tells him, like, you're the reason all of this has happened. You can't sit here and blame everybody else when all we're having to do is clean up your mess. You killed Buck 20. Because of that, I had to kill your friend D-Wiz. Let's be real. Kanan got the stash house shot up and broken into. Kanan, he went out and he tried to take back his mom's corners, not even realizing that the corners weren't there. He was running his mouth to Davina. So it's like everything that he has done leading up to now, cooking bad batches of crack, all these bodies that are dropping are because of you. So Kanan was like, D-Wiz, and she was like, yeah, I had to kill your friend because they wanted a body. They were coming to get you. So now whose fault is it that D-Wiz is dead? I was like, damn, Rock. And I think that's kind of the moment that Kanan realized how real this game is and how he might not really be prepared for what he's like propelling himself into. Like, I get it. You're raised in this drug family. You want to get yourself to a level where you are really running the shit because of who your mom and who you think your dad is. But it's like, Rock is telling you different things for a reason. She's keeping you away from different scenarios and stuff for a reason. And it's like Kanan keeps trying to go behind her back, and he is truly messing stuff up. Because if Kanan had never went out and tried to get that corner and killed Buck 20, D Wiz wouldn't be dead. If Kanan would have never tried to, did all that running his mouth with Davina and trying so hard to be in the game, the stash house wouldn't have gotten shot up, and they wouldn't have lost half their connect or half their product, eventually causing them to lose their connect. You know what I mean? Like, if Kanan would have never said, I can cook the crack, I learned how to do it once, they would have never been out here trying to step on it without talking to Marvin first, without talking to Lulu first, hell, without talking to Rock first. Kanan, a 15-year-old, is out here cooking the crack that's killing people with one drag. It's like, Kanan is such a fuck up to me. And so I would really like to know how he went from this trash ass little 15-year-old to the man that we saw in Power. Like, it's really making me see why Ghost, probably did flip on you back in the day. Because, like, you make mistake after mistake after mistake because you're not thinking with your head. Like, Kanan he's so caught up on, who my mama is, who my daddy is. That's why I'm that nigga in the street. And it's not working for him because he really don't know the game the way that he think he does. So then we see Rock go over to these apartments that have taken 3 episodes to get constructed. And she clears out the room and she hits Marvin in the back with the 2x4. And basically tells him, why did you bring Kanan into the game? And Marvin, grown-ass man, like, snitches on Kanan and was like, nah, he came up with the idea. I was keeping the money in the family. And it's like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. You were doing that initially, trying to get your own shit running. And I think Marvin was pocketing that money. Kanan may have gotten paid a little bit on the side, but Marvin was pocketing that money. What is Marvin trying to do in the long run? Who knows? Maybe he wanted to get his own, maybe he wanted to get his own little hustle going or his own organization going. But he definitely was not doing that for the family like he told Rock. And she was like, I keep telling you to keep Kanan away from this, and you keep bringing him deeper and deeper into the game. So she kind of tells him, I'm done with you. Stay the fuck away from me. You're out the organization. You're out the family. Get out my sight. Stay away from my son. And I forgot to mention when Rock was telling Kanan about all the mistakes he's made, she was like, you're partnered up with your Uncle Marvin, who is a dope head himself and who got so messed up into the game that he was not only selling it but using it. And he was so high to the fact that when the police came, he tried to sell some of them because he was so high, because you're never supposed to sell where you sleep. I don't do drugs. I have never sold drugs. And even I know that from watching enough TV. So, final thing we see is, we see Marvin go to the club and he's sleeping with the white girl. And she has a camera and a microphone underneath the desk. So then when Marvin is trying to get some money for her, she is being overly obvious that she's wired, or that the room itself is at least wired. And she's like, oh, well, tell me what you need the money for. I'll give it to you. Like, that's how she's talking. Marvin's dumb, but he ain't that dumb. So he walks out and he was like, F it. We done effing with each other. I'm done with this. She's like chasing him out through the club, and we see what I'm assuming are 2 undercover cops. So she's facing her own set of charges, and it must have been like some type of plea or some type of recon for her, that if she is able to flip and get Marvin to say something on wire, then her charges would be lessened or reduced in some way. So, but Symphony is listening to the whole thing. And we know Symphony's going to run back and tell Rock, because she done already gotten his ass about not being trustworthy and how she feels she can't trust him because he kept the fact that he went and got Kanan out of jail from her. So, like, keep that in the back of your mind. Like, Symphony is going to run back and tell her. So then we see moving over to Lulu. So we saw that Lulu went up to Crown and basically threatened him for half of the records. So he now owns half of Bulletproof Records. And he's later in bed with Famous's sister, who is not even excited that Lou like now owns half the record label. It's always famous, 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 famous. And Lou is just kind of like, you can tell he's looking at her like, you're not even happy for me. You're just trying to get your brother on. So I think Lou is seeing that she's like just using him to try to get Famous on, which will in turn help her because I'm sure she's Famous's manager. So when she leaves the house, she is outside. When she leaves the house, Lou pours himself a bottle, little glass of wine, little glass of brown. He puts on the tape. He's listening to some music. Rock calls him, leaves a message on his voicemail, telling him to batter up, which means that, we got some other shit to take care of. And he was like, nah, I'm off tonight. So he's chilling, listening to the music. And outside, we see Nick's people putting together like those, I forgot what they call them fireballs that's made out of like gasoline inside of a glass bottle. And then they have like the towel and stuff that's lit. They throw that in the house and like set the house ablaze. So Lou is in there dying from smoke inhalation before they start shooting up the house on top of that. So Lou grabs his gun and is like shooting. And I'm like, Lord, is this how y'all gonna take this man out with smoke inhalation? Really? So we see Marvin driving down the street, probably coming to Lou's house for whatever reason. Probably to bitch about Rock and try to, get Lou to probably try to get Lou to talk to Rock to be like, I messed up, but I'm gonna do better. Talk to your sister for me, whatever, whatever. So Marvin sees the car like shoot it, like he sees the people outside shooting at him. So he's trying to drive fast enough to run him over, but he ends up crashing. Nick's people end up leaving, and then we see him run in the house and break down the door while, trying to get his brother out, and he carries him out, and they are both just full of soot and, probably being burned, little burns from the smoke and ashes and stuff like that. And then he's out in the middle of the street screaming, somebody help me. I don't think Lou dies. I'm not believing that this story is gonna have Lou die and be taken out this early in the series. Because Lou is like Rock's right hand. Now she already kicked Marvin out. We see next episode on the previews that she's back. She gotta talk to Marvin now because we don't know what happened to Lou. So that was the episode, y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Again, like the video, comment, subscribe, and check y'all later.